What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and joining me again for another review of 90 Day Fiancé Before the 90 Days, Season 5, Episode 4, Ghost from the Past. So let's start off with Mike and Ximena. Mike has arrived in Colombia. When he meets Ximena, it's a very beautiful meeting, greeting, whatever you want to call it. They kiss, they hug um, very tightly. It was very genuine. It was very, very genuine. Like they were really, truly happy to see each other. So it was a really beautiful moment. And they kept telling each other, I love you in Spanish. And Mike seemed really tender. He seemed really caring. Ximena seemed really happy to see him. And it was a really beautiful meeting. So, and I actually have to say, they were kind of cute together with all the little I love yous and stuff. It was kind of cute. So then we move on to them getting into the car. They actually walk hand in hand to the cab that was waiting for them, or the Uber or whatever it was. They were actually walking to it hand in hand. And in the car, Mike gets a text, I believe. And Ximena looks at his phone, or she glances at his phone, and she asks him, who is it? And he says it's his dad. And then when she looks at the phone again, she asked him, why did he delete it? So I didn't understand what that scene was about. But in his confessional, Mike said that he liked it, I guess, when she acts kind of jealous or possessive of him, because he says that it shows that she's claiming him and shows that she genuinely loves him. So they go somewhere to eat, and while they're sitting there, they order their drinks. And when their drinks come, they're sipping on their drinks, but there's not a lot of conversation because there's this huge language barrier. So the conversation is absolutely nil. And Ximena senses that Mike is looking a little bit uncomfortable. And so she asks him if he's okay. And he says that he's fine. But it was a bit awkward. He was trying to, I think he was trying to use his phone to translate. And there's always, when you use a device to communicate with someone, there's always like something is lacking because you have to go through this translation device to talk. And so there's always like the conversation really doesn't flow, and there's always like this awkwardness about it. And I remember that's how it was in a way with Jehoon and what was her name? The girl who moved to Korea to go be with Jehoon. I forgot her name. So they had their own little translation device there too, but they seem to make it work a little bit better. And I'm not sure why with Mike's device or his phone or whatever he was using, it just really wasn't clicking. So after that, they sit there, there's not much conversation. And he says that they're going to have to somehow get through this communication problem because he plans to propose by the end of his trip. And so all they can really say to each other once again is, I love you in Spanish. And Ximena does appear to be a little bit frustrated. So then she takes him back to her house, and he thought that he was only going to be meeting her sons, but in actuality, her whole entire family was there. So he wasn't expecting that. And so that also was a little bit awkward because you have, I don't know, maybe it could have been about 10 people, 10 or 12 people were there, and they're all gathered around and they're all just staring at him. And he's trying to use his translation device. And once again, it's not really translating very well. And they're laughing, basically just out of like, it was awkward. So they were laughing to kind of lighten the mood a little bit whenever the device was translating wrong. And Mike was feeling a little bit embarrassed and he was turning red, and they definitely noticed that. And so that whole scene was really, really awkward. In the father's confessional, Jimenez's father's confessional, he said that, Mike is a really nice guy, but I just don't think he's the one for my daughter. And so he knows that his daughter likes the bad guy. She likes the bad boy. And Mike just ain't that. So it might not be what she wants, but it could possibly be what she needs. Her being a single mother, and this is a man who has some means to help her out financially. So I don't know, maybe it might not be the man of her dreams, but it might be the man that she needs to help take care of her family. I don't know. So after that, I think they have dinner. They also end up having. Oh, he did give gifts to the children, to her two kids. He ended up giving them their presents and their toys and whatnot. And then Ximena, you could tell, was feeling sorry for him as he was, facing her whole entire family, because she was constantly rubbing on his back and rubbing on his shoulder, I guess to kind of make him feel more at ease and to let him know that she's there for him. So after all of that, they have dinner, they have dessert, everybody leaves. He thanks everybody for showing up to meet him. Everybody leaves, and then she has to get the kids to bed. So the kids are used to sleeping with her, and so it's going to be a challenge to get them to sleep on their own in their own rooms. So the older one was fine, but the little one, he was kind of fighting it. But eventually, it seems like they were able to get the boys to sleep, and they were able to also go to bed themselves, and hopefully have some alone time. So that is Mike and Ximena. So surprisingly, it went well. It went better than I expected it to go, and I'm just happy that it appeared as if Ximena was happy to see him, and that she really does like him. And she even had mentioned that if her boys like him and if her boys accept him, it's going to make it a lot better for her, and she's going to be even happier. So she's wanting her children to accept him. And I think the little boys, they even have their own little confessional. And they said that they liked Mike. They really did like him, and they want him for their stepfather. And so they're looking forward to him. They didn't seem to be afraid of him or really, really shy of him, because when he wanted to give them each a hug, they both gave him a hug. And Mike understands the responsibility that he's taking on as being the father figure for these two boys, because their own fathers are absent. One is MIA, the other one's in jail. And so he understands. I'm glad that he understands, the responsibility that he's taking on. And I liked how he interacted with the two boys. And I liked how the two boys, it seemed like they took to him. And I think the older boy said that he also liked Mike because this is the best boyfriend his mother has ever had. Now, that could go either way, because Mike does have his issues, but it was kind of like, well, it's wonderful that the child thinks that this is the best guy that his mother has ever brought into their home. But if Mike is the best, I really wonder what the other guys were like, what kind of people she was bringing around her children previously. Let's move on to Alina and Caleb. So the next morning, Alina wakes up and Caleb brings her Turkish coffee in bed. And she mentioned that she really wanted American coffee, but that was fine. And he walks in to bring her the coffee, and he's shirtless again. And he's got his hair down, and he's very appealing to the eye, and he reminds me a lot of Michael Hutchinson, who was the lead singer of NXS. He really, really reminds me of him, with the curly hair, the nice looking face, the body. He kind of really reminds me of Michael Hutchinson. So Caleb says in his confessional that nothing happened the night before. He said that they didn't even kiss. He said that, he really wasn't feeling it. Things were getting into his head, and he was realizing their physical differences. And plus, he was just really, really tired. So nothing of any kind of intimacy happened the night before. So they're talking in bed, and Alina tells him that she was really disappointed in how things went the previous night. She talks about how, for 13 years, they've been waiting to see each other in person. And then when they do, he just went to bed. He just went to sleep. She goes, I went to go wash my face, and I came out, and you were asleep. And he says, well, it did take you 10 minutes to wash your face, and I'm sorry, it just the sleep just kind of overtook me. So she was really disappointed in that, and she's looking forward to a lot more affection with him. So she said that her feelings were hurt because, waiting so long to see him, and it was just a big fail. So she says she's not begging for it. She's not thirsty, but she was expecting a little bit of something. And it seemed like Caleb was in a much better mood the next morning. And he was like, well, we didn't have any cuddles last night, so let's have some cuddles today. And so she snuggles up to him, to his naked chest. She snuggles up to him. She says that she likes how it feels, and he likes how she fits in his arms, and she's like, she felt so small and felt really protected by him when he put his arms around her. So that physicalness, I guess, it's starting to wake up in them. It's starting to develop in them, that physical attraction. And now it's gift time. So he decides to give her presents. First, he gives her a necklace. He says it really represents the state that he's from. I think it's Arizona. And it was a necklace made out of tumbleweed and recycled tumbleweed or something. I don't know. But it was a pretty necklace. But yeah, whatever. And so she was like, oh, so it's a necklace made out of trash, out of garbage. And he was like, yeah, it's recycled. And she was like, oh, recycled, eco-friendly. Okay, I get it. Yeah, that's nice. And then he also gives her, a, y'all, I didn't know how to take this. He gave her, I don't know if he was giving it to her or if it was for him to use for her. I don't know. But he gave her a carrier. It was like what you would use to carry a baby on your back or carry a baby in front of you. It was one of those. And she's not as small as a baby. She is pretty small, but she's not as small as a baby. And I just didn't understand how this was going to work. But he says that he likes to go hiking. And if they ever get a chance to go hiking together, because she's limited with how far she can walk, and you really can't take a wheelchair up in the mountains or wherever they're going to go hiking. So he was going to put her in this carrier thing where he can either carry her, I think he was going to carry her on her back, and she would somehow slip into this carrier thing, and he would be carrying her on his back. Now she said, now we can only go by what's comfortable with her. So if it's comfortable with her, then we have to accept that it's okay. But she said that she thought it was a really good idea because it shows how much he wanted her to be with him when he does the activities that he enjoys doing. So she didn't say anything offensive about that. She didn't say anything wrong with that. So honey, if you like it, we love it. So Caleb says he's looking forward to meeting Elijah. When they do go down to meet Elijah, Elijah's sitting in the lobby of the hotel. He's already sitting at the little, the little sofa area, and he's sitting there. He is poised, he is proper, he's got wonderful posture. He's holding his teacup and his saucer, and he's just waiting for Caleb. So when they do arrive, they sit down, and you can already tell the tension because I'm assuming that Alina had already texted Elijah all the issues that she had with Caleb the night before, the lack of affection, communication, so on and so forth. So Elijah was ready to grill Caleb. So when they sit down, Elijah says, well, you know what? You look better than I expected, and you're actually stunning. And this is what he's telling to Elijah. And Elijah is questioning why Caleb didn't kiss Alina. Caleb said that he was too tired. So in his confessional, he says that his first impression of Caleb is not very good. Then they all three decide to go sightseeing. So they go into a Turkish mosque, and they're admiring the sights of the mosque and whatnot. Alina even also had to wear like a covering on her head, like a shawl around her head before she entered the mosque, out of respect. And at some point, they leave her downstairs because they wanted to explore the upstairs, the second floor of the mosque, and Alina didn't want to go. So Caleb and Elijah, they go up there, and while they're up there, and it's a beautiful, beautiful mosque. So while they're up there, they're looking down at everything, and Caleb is having some type of a moment, some type of an experience. I think he says his chakras are opening up or something because he felt this tingling, and Elijah was just looking at him like he was, just out of his mind. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? But he was having some type of an experience in this mosque. And he was getting tingles and all kinds of stuff was happening to him. And Elijah didn't get it at all. So Elijah says that he doesn't see Caleb treating Alina like the queen that she is. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know what to say about that. I think that Caleb is really trying to coincide the Alina that he knows from 13 years from online and the real Alina in real life. I think he's trying to somehow mesh these two images of her together to figure out, exactly who she is and how he can relate to her. So the Alina that he knew online, he was obviously really into that chick, really into her. That was one persona. But then when you see someone in real life, especially someone who has physical challenges, he's beginning to see like a whole new different Alina. And I think he just needs time to get to know her and get to figure out how they're going to work together and how he's going to be of of a benefit for her. You know what I mean? So I think that it just takes time. And Elijah, you already understand all of Alina. You get her in and out, up and down, and all around. Caleb doesn't. So let's just give him some time. So they have dinner. They're at dinner, the three of them. And Elijah, he gets on Caleb's case about the pouring of the water in the glass, because when the water came, he poured for himself first. I don't think he poured for Alina at all. And Elijah mentioned that. He was like, well, why didn't you serve her water first? Why didn't you pour her glass first? And, Caleb, he wasn't thinking. And Alina said, well, he's American. Americans are not like that. They don't have that type of chivalry, So, she just kind of dismisses it as he's just, your typical American who just doesn't have any manners, I guess, or whatever. And so then he makes a toast. Caleb makes a toast. And he says, I'm toasting my best friend and her best friend coming to Turkey. And Alina was like, excuse me, say what now? Your best friend? So you just see me as your friend? And he was like, yeah, you're one of my best friends. And so that was kind of confusing, because later on, after dinner, they were able to go back to Alina's room alone. And they got a lot closer. They got intimate, basically. So it was like, okay, you just toasted to her being your best friend or one of your best friends. But then when they went up to the room, it was on and popping. They started, how did it start? They started kissing, because the whole entire time Alina has been giving him, from the moment that he landed in Turkey, Alina has been giving him those seductive eyes. There's this way that she looks at him, which is extremely flirty. It's very seductive. I'm pretty sure Caleb is picking up on it. She's been flirting with him. And finally, I guess he just, he couldn't resist no more. So when they went back up to the room, it was on and popping. They started kissing. He was on top of her. Then he flipped her around and she was on top of him. And then, obviously the scene ended. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Alina got what she wanted. Now, when they were still at dinner, I forgot to mention this. They talked about her past relationship, because she has a secret, as they all do on this show. She has a secret, and she says that, it was funny because Caleb asked Elijah about her ex-boyfriend or her past relationships. He didn't ask Alina directly. And Elijah said that, yeah, her last boyfriend was really bad. And Alina says in her confessional that what Caleb doesn't know, the secret that she's keeping from him, is that she was living with him up until recently. So the whole time that her and Caleb were communicating again online, she had a whole entire man living with her. So she doesn't know how she's going to tell him and how he's going to take it, so on and so forth. So we're going to see how that's going to unfold. But she got her affection. It was on and popping, y'all. Memphis and Hamza. Oh my God. There's always somebody in every season. There's always somebody that they just get to me. They just get under my skin. So I guess this season is going to be Memphis. Okay, so Memphis arrives in Tunisia. At the airport, they're walking to the car, or they're walking in the parking lot looking for the car or whatever. And she's asking him, how are they getting home? And he says they're getting home by car. And, she's under the assumption that he's going to drive. And he says, no, my friend is going to drive us. And I'm thinking to myself, Hamza, this is the perfect opportunity to tell her that you don't drive. The door's open to talk about that. Don't hide something so small and so silly, and don't hide it until either she has to find out on her own, or she has to find out about it in a way that's going to make you look absolutely silly. Just tell her, yeah, I don't drive because I don't have a permit, because I got into a fight with my driving instructor. It's not that big of a deal. You got into a fight with she might think that that's like really hot or something. You got into a fight with your driving instructor. You don't have a driver's license, or whatever you want to call it. So what? Just tell her the truth, but whatever. So they get into the car and she's asking him, how long is it going to take to get to your house? He said it's about 2 hours. She's like, 2 hours? Yeah, 2 hours. It's not like in America where there's like, a couple of airports in every city. Yeah, there's probably the one airport in this major city, and he lives about 2 hours away from it. So that's a good time to try to get to know each other. But anyways, moving on. So In the car, Memphis is upset because on his phone, she's such a baby. On his phone, I guess as his screensaver or his wallpaper background, it's a picture of himself, while she has a picture of him. So she mentions this to him. She's like, "You have a picture of you, but I have a picture of you. Don't have a picture of me." And he really doesn't understand where she's coming from or what's going on. But this is triggering her because she has this fear of rejection, and also having a parent, she was abandoned by her mother, I guess. She was put into the foster care system. So she's, people like her, I guess, always have this fear of abandonment, of someone that they love, that they care for, leaving them. And so they take every little tiny thing she's going to have to analyze and overanalyze. Like, does this mean he likes me? Does this mean he's leaving me? What does this mean when he does this? He doesn't have a picture of me on his phone. So maybe he really doesn't like me. So maybe this relationship isn't going to. And it's like, it's not a big deal, girl. It doesn't matter if he doesn't have a picture of you on his phone. It doesn't matter. Don't make it a thing. Please don't make it a thing on your first hour in Tunisia. Don't make it a thing. So, and so she talks about her previous relationship and how she was it really crushed her self-esteem. She's saying this in her confessional, that in her previous relationship, so on and so forth, because of their intimacy issue, the guy, I guess, didn't want to be intimate with her. I don't know. So it really crushed her self-esteem. So she says that it's important that the intimacy works between her and Hamza because she plans on marrying him before she goes back to the United States, so that she doesn't have a lot of time. So she's like really focused on the intimacy has to be good. It has to be there. And I feel bad about that because that's not the most important thing in a relationship. And if you're going to put all your eggs in this one basket of whether or not we're compatible in bed, what about the rest of the relationship? What about 99% of the relationship? You're not going to work on that at all? I mean, does she not care like how well? It's like if this works, if the intimacy works, she thinks that everything else is going to fall in place. But then if the intimacy really, really works, then it's going to be all about that. Then she's going to be frustrated when that's all he wants to do and that's all he cares about because that's the thing that she put the most priority on. So why don't she needs to like expand her mind and be like, okay, yeah, that's important, but let's put that on the back burner. Let's really get to know each other, see if we're compatible, see if there's any love there, see if there's any chemistry there, any connection there. And if all of those boxes check, the intimacy is going to fall into place. I think when everything else about the relationship is really good, I kind of believe that then the intimacy will naturally fall into place. But if you're trying to put the cart before the horse and you're like, okay, we're really compatible in bed. That's really, really wonderful. Then after everything is said and done, now y'all are stuck needing to talk to each other and needing to get to know each other. And he may not be interested in that because you've given him something else, what he really wants. Now he's not interested in developing a real, wholesome, complete relationship with you. But Hamza, this is your life, your story. So she wants to make sure the intimacy is there. And so they talk about where are they going to, like, can they get that going? And he was like, well, my mother told me that I need to wait until I'm married before, we sleep together. And she's like, okay, well then, because you were telling me that we were going to be sharing a room, and so you're telling me that we're not going to share a room? And he's like, yeah, no. And he's just like, I'm sorry. And so, like, now her mind is like turning like, okay, how is this going to happen? How are we going to make this work when we can't even share a room together? I mean, just putting all the focus on the wrong thing. So they get to the home. She meets the mom. She meets the sister. Of course, there's this huge language barrier. And the sister is looking forward to getting to know her better. The mom in her confessional, she was like, you know what? I'm going to reserve my judgment because I can't make a decision on, meeting somebody for the first time. So how I feel about her, I can't really say right now because I don't really know her. So Hamza and Memphis to go to the room together. I guess he shows her her room so she can set down her stuff, so on and so forth. And Memphis expresses concern about not having any, one-on-one time with him before they get married. And so she suggests, why don't we she's asking him, so how are we going to do this? Because, you're going to be sleeping on the couch. I'm going to be sleeping in here. So how are we going to hook up? And he's like, well, I'll just come into your room. And then she's like, well, I don't want to disrespect your mother's home like that. So can we get a hotel? And he's kind of like, why are you so scared? Well, the next morning, The mother comes looking for her son. I guess to make him his breakfast or something. I have no idea. So she comes looking for her son, and she's about to knock on the door that Memphis is staying in, and she can hear voices in the room. And she hears her son's voice, and she hears Memphis's voice. And so she's listening, and it's obviously they're in there together. And then Hamza opens the door, not Hamza, Memphis opens the door, and the mom is standing right there. And I guess it's obvious of what went down the night before. So the mother is really upset. And, she's like pacing in the apartment. She goes into the kitchen. She's looking like she's really distraught. She's got her hand on her forehead, like, oh my God, what just happened here in my house? And yeah. So that's that. We have no idea. Like what happened after that. That's going to be for the next episode. I'm really disappointed in Memphis. I'm very disappointed in her because I really want her to understand that, she's approaching this relationship like in a really immature way. She's thinking that, well, if everything is, and I wonder also if she thinks that if she can get him hooked physically, like, with the sex, if she can get him hooked on that, I wonder if she thinks to herself, well, then he's not going to leave me because I'm going to be giving him all of that, so he won't leave me. I wonder if she's like thinking that that's gonna keep him, but it's not. It's not, because if that's all you have going on, you're not going to have a relationship. Kim and Usman. So we start off their scene with her soaking her feet in a tub of ice water because her ankles are swollen and she wants to make sure that when she sees her man, her ankles are nice and dainty. Usman he's with his two friends and the two guys that he went there with, and they're talking, and they asked him if he spent the night with Kim. He said no, and he told them, well, she gave me some really nice gifts. She gave me a laptop and a video game. And I'm like, Usman, why are you playing that down? Why are you minimizing? You need to tell them that she gave you a MacBook Pro and she gave you a PS5, okay, not just a laptop and a video game. So the friends ask if he's catching feelings, and Usman actually says, yeah, he thinks he might be catching feelings for her. He says that he really cares about this woman. And so the friends tell him that they've arranged a meeting for him with a Tanzanian artist, a female, I think she's like a female rap artist in Tanzania, and her name is Rosary. So the friends, of course, they want him to like see her and maybe, try to hook up with her and get him away from Kim. I think it was all a setup. I think they're trying to sabotage his relationship with Kim. So they want him, they're trying to make it look like, well, she's a music artist and you're a music artist and we arranged a meeting so maybe y'all can collab together or whatever, like a business meeting. And I'm pretty sure that they just want him to be like, oh my gosh, she was so beautiful. I'm going to leave Kim and go be with her. I don't know. So Kim shows up to the table, and she shows up and she sits down and she calls him Soldier Boy. And he looks at her and he's like, why did you call me Soldier Boy? You never called me Soldier Boy before. You called me Usman. And she's like, I called you Soldier Boy yesterday. And he was like, no, you didn't. You called me Usman. And I'm wondering if he brought that up because it kind of makes him think, well, if she's calling me by my entertainment name, my stage name, then maybe she is just a fan after all. And she really doesn't see me for me. She just sees me as Soldier Boy, the artist, not Usman, the man. Because I don't understand any other reason why he would have brought that up. So he tells her, my people here, they've arranged for me to meet this female artist. I'm going to be meeting her later on today, and I want you to come with me. And at first she's like, no, I don't have to come with you. And he's like, no, I really want you to come with me. So they're holding hands, and in the friend's confessional, they said that they don't like to see Usman and Kim display any kind of public affection because they said, paparazzi or whoever could be around and take a picture and post it online. And then people are going to be like, oh my God, here we go. Usman again with another old lady. But friends, you don't have to worry about the paparazzi snapping a picture of Usman and Kim. So, So they talk about that. So later on, they decide, Usman and Kim, they go to this restaurant called the Secret Garden to wait for Rosary. And while they're waiting, Kim is really nervous and she's uncomfortable. And she's like, you know what? I should have just stayed at the hotel because this is stupid for me to be here. And he's like, no, I want you here. I really do want you here. And she feels really uncomfortable. So the girl shows up. She's very, very cute. We see clips of her music videos and her publicity photos and everything. She's a very cute girl. She kind of reminds me of Eve in her younger days when she had that really short blonde afro, really cute girl. Really reminded me of Eve. And so they're sitting there and they're talking. And at first, Kim really wasn't feeling her, but then the girl, she kind of warmed up to her because the girl was kind of like, she didn't feel, it was obvious that it seemed obvious that there wasn't really any kind of, the girl wasn't interested in Usman in any kind of, like sexual way or anything like that. Usman did say something about how her tongue was really sweet. And she was like, really? And he says, yeah, the Swahili language, it's a very, it sounds very sweet. And because she says something in Swahili to the waiter. And that's as far as it got. And then, the girl asked, why is she here? And Kim said, well, I'm his potential. And she was like, oh, potential what? And then Usman said, well, if things work out between me and her, she's my potential wife. And the girl thought that was really cute. And she was like, oh, so basically this is your potential wifey. And so it was like all pleasant and very friendly, and Kim had nothing to worry about. And I don't think the girl was interested in Usman. I don't think Usman was interested in the girl like that. So it was a really pleasant meeting. It was much ado about nothing. So yeah, that was the end of that. And Kim even was like, you know what? The girl's fine. She's cool. Everything was fine. Let's move on to Ella and Johnny. So Ella and Johnny, it starts off with her doing some kind of witchcraft. Okay, Ella is Wiccan. She's a practicing witch. She's a practicing samurai loving witch. It just gets more and more interesting with this woman. So she's performing some type of ritual with her coven. She's in a coven, y'all. And her coven members are there with her, two other Wiccans, I guess. And they're doing some kind of ritual because she wants her relationship with Johnny to go well. Considering how her past relationships have all been failures. So she's performing a ritual so that her relationship with Johnny turns out better than the others. I guess. I don't know what's happening here. So she says that being Wiccan is really good for her because you feel like you're more in control of what happens to your life, and you're very proactive about the things that are going on in your life. Okay, so let's go on to Johnny. He's in China, and he's trying on his COVID suit because when he travels to the United States, I guess this is what he's going to be wearing. And it is a full head to toe gear that you slip into. And of course, you have the mask and everything. So he looks like an astronaut, basically. And this is what he's going to be wearing, I guess. And so he visits a doctor who practices Chinese medicine. And he tells the doctor that he's got this American girlfriend, but she's really overweight. What can he do to help her with her weight? And so the doctor says to him, the Chinese medicine practicing doctor says that, she says something really profound, something that I don't think any other medical community in the world has ever heard of. She said her obesity seems to be caused by overeating. Wow. How did she figure that out? She has solved the mystery of why people are overweight. It's caused by, you got to sit down. It's caused by overeating. So she prescribes some type of herbs for her. So he goes to the pharmacy or the herb shop. I have no idea. And he gets a whole bunch of herbs for Ella. And then after that, Johnny says in his confessional that American girls are bigger than Asian girls, but he's always been attracted to American girls. And he says that he's really attracted to their independence. He's a really, really forward-thinking man. And he says that he's ready to become, these are his words, not mine, and I quote, Johnny says, I am ready to become a redneck cowboy. So he's having dinner with his friends, and he tells his friends that, he's going to be going to America. He talks about there's this spark between him and Ella. He called it sparkle, but I think he was talking about a spark between them. And he talks about his plans and how he plans to quit his job and all this and that. And he's going to be moving to America. And one of the friends asks about, well, how are you going to be handling being intimate with her because of her weight? You might get pressed and suffocated, says the friend who's also overweight. So there's like a group of them sitting at this dinner table at this restaurant. Maybe like there's probably four of them all together. And the one who tells him you might be suffocated by your overweight girlfriend, he himself is also overweight. And Johnny made sure to point that out. So he tells him of his plans and he says that, this is what he wants to do. And his friends tell him, are you sure you really want to do this? Because you are sacrificing a really good job. I guess he was getting promoted or something. He was moving up in the company that he works at. And there's also a pandemic going on. And you're going to be traveling to United States where the pandemic has really hit hard. They're like, are you sure you really want to do this? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to sacrifice everything for love. I really love this woman. I want to be with her. He says that Ella has gotten him through some really dark times. And I think it was about maybe it's something about his divorce. Maybe it was when he was going through his divorce or something. She was there for him and he wants to propose to her and he wants to marry her. So later on, they FaceTime each other and she puts on a long blonde. It really looked more like Sailor Moon more than this Naruto thing that she was talking about. But she was trying to portray this character out of Naruto. I have no idea what was going on because I don't watch Naruto because I'm a grown woman. So she was saying something about Naruto and but she did look like more like Sailor Moon and he even mentioned it to her. She put on the wig and he was like, well, you look more like Sailor Moon. Anyways, so they're talking about that and they're looking forward to doing cosplay together and he's really excited about the ranch life. And he was like, the ranch life is going to be like a small part of our relationship or a small part of our lives. And she was like, no, excuse me, sir. Ranch life is going to be a huge part of our lives, not a small part, a big part of our lives. And he was like, well, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to give it my best. And she's really happy that he's so gung-ho and enthusiastic about this ranch life. And she understands how much he's sacrificing to be with her because he's going to be leaving his son behind. So it's a really big thing that he's doing, to move up to America with her. So hopefully all of that works out. Moving on, Jasmine and Gino. The next morning, Gino says this was their first night together, and he goes, "It was so good." And he starts like patting her on the shoulder. It was just really strange, but whatever. Jasmine was not disappointed. He didn't need his little blue pills. Everybody was satisfied. Everybody was happy on how the previous night went. Yes, indeed. And she said that she wasn't expecting him to be so savage. And I'm like, I have got to see it to believe it. Because when I look at Gino and his permanent cap on his head, I don't get savage. I don't get savage at all. I have to see it to believe it. So, Gino says that he didn't need his blue pills and that he did take off his hat. He finally took off his hat, but only after the lights were off. And Jasmine said that she got to feel his bald head, so she got an idea of what his head looks like underneath that cap. And I'm thinking to myself, Gino, let that damn hat go, because the more you resist, the more attention you're bringing to your bald head, even though nobody can see your bald head. So you're trying to hide your bald head with this baseball cap, but it's actually having an opposite effect. You're thinking, I don't want no one to pay any attention to what's going on underneath this head, underneath this cap, but because you're wearing it constantly, people cannot focus on anything else other than what's underneath your cap. Just take it off. It's okay. You probably look, it's probably going to be like a Bruce Willis effect. When he finally let go of his toupee, or when he finally shaved his head or whatever he did and he just decided to go bald. It was nice. It was great. He was still a very good looking man. So moving on. So they go to Old Town, which is like I guess like a touristy place in Panama. And they're in a souvenir shop and he's buying souvenirs. And she's telling him, I want you to completely redecorate your house with nothing but Panama stuff because you're going to be with me now. And anything that of your ex-wife, I want it gone because we're together. So whatever she put in your house, I want it gone. And she kept on referring to the ex-wife as his stupid ex-wife. And Gina was like, you don't have to call her stupid, okay? She's just my ex-wife. Just refer to her as my ex. You don't have to call her stupid. And I'm like, Gina, why do you tell her things that are going to get her all riled up? So she's like, oh, you're intelligent, sophisticated, beautiful ex-wife then. And so he says that he's learned his lesson with her to not talk about his exes because she gets crazy. So he doesn't really mention them. But he also has a secret. And the secret is that he has been communicating with his ex-wife this whole entire time. Yeah. Anyways, that is my review of 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 days. If you made it this far, I appreciate you more than you will ever know. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you spending your time with me. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will definitely be talking to you later with another review. Thank you so much. Bye.